tell us how that first version of glass or glasses came to be in 1993.
Well, in 1993, we didn't have a name for it. The name for personal computer was already taken by the IBM PC. And so we were looking around for a name. We came up with wearable computing. And what we had back then is this thing. This is something called the reflection technology display. And this is actually the fashionable version of it back then.
That looks awesome.
And it's a little mirror that scans across your eye and creates the illusion of an image.
Wait,
it was 720 by 280 back then.
Could you actually see when you were wearing those?
Well, no. When you put these things on, it blocks one eye, but the human visual system shares the image between the two eyes. So it seems to me like I could see through it, even though I can't.
Now,
an illusion.
Now, you've been doing a lot of work with Google, and there's just a fascinating story about how you ultimately ended up at Google, because you actually ran into Larry and Sergey in the 90s while you were wearing these glasses. And then later, you sent them an email, I believe, when they came out with Android, you know, suggesting that they consider wearable technology. I actually have a quote from that email where you said, now that you guys are doing Android and you're doing these phones, you should really take a look at the wearable computing technology we've been working on in academia. Tell me about your encounter with them.
Well, so when you wear something like this and you have a big shoulder bag on with a big computer in and a old, remember these old car cell phones that were like 2 pounds and about that big, and wearing a motorcycle battery to power it all, you know, you get some attention. I also have a little one-handed keyboard here called a twiddler. This is actually in the 3rd revision. There's a wireless version now. So when you wear this headset and this keyboard and you've got this device over your shoulder, and you're taking notes when you're in conversation with people, people come up to you and say, what is it you're wearing? And why are you wearing that? And two of these, I was at a little conference in San Jose at IBM, a guy named Ted Selker was running it. And I was just waiting at the coffee line, and these 2 Stanford students walked up to me and said, hi, you know, my name is Larry and this is Sergey. We'd like to talk to you about your computer. Can we get a demo? And so we talked for a while about wearable computing and why I found it compelling. And they told me about this new service they're talking about called Google to do better web search. And you know, it was just grad students talking to each other at the time. I was just graduating at that time. And you know, about 2010, after it was clear that the smartphone thing was really taking off and was going to be successful, I sent Sergey an email back to a really old email address saying, hey guys, you know, why don't you take a look at the wearable computing work? It's really progressed a long way. And the next thing I knew, I was out there working on glass. They had the guys had actually decided independently of me about 2 months before this conversation that they were going to do a wearable computer. And so my timing happened to be perfect.
Thad, I'm curious to know, given your perspective, having worked on this now for more than 20 years, it's pretty obvious what has gotten so much better. Processing power has gone up exponentially. Things have shrunk down. What, from today looking forward, what are some of the next major breakthroughs that are going to facilitate the next generation of the things that you're working on?
Well, a lot of that's going to be the intelligence. I really believe that we're going to get going down the stage where we're making smarter and smarter assistants for you in your daily life. Already there's services out there that can predict the traffic from one appointment to the next and remind you early if the traffic is going to be bad, or remind you of your next appointment, or tell you about, when I was just coming here, Glass was telling me about good photo spots nearby. But that's kind of the tip of the iceberg. Wouldn't it be cool to have something that could listen in on your conversation, just your side of it, and actually suggest ideas or suggest concepts from the past that might be relevant to the conversation? And that's where we're really going with this AI through symbiosis that I've been pushing. The idea that we can actually make a computer that lives your life with you, that sort of observes what you're doing with your hands, what you're doing with your body, how you're interacting with the world, learns what it is to be human on human terms, and then provides intelligent assistance from second to second. And that's why I call it symbiosis. And so in exchange for this assistance, it's actually learning a lot about the human world. And I have some examples for you on that.
Well, I'd love to see them. I want to ask you one other question based on the point you were just making. The technology may be very close or even already there to do some of the things that you're describing. In your opinion, however, are we ready for that kind of a relationship between technology and ourselves?
Well, I would argue we are. We've been ready for a long time. I don't know if you've ever worked with a a CEO from a major Japanese auto company, but they always have an assistant with them who helps, make their interviews and their interactions seamless. That if you have a good conversation going on and the assistant knows that the CEO really is interested in this piece of work, the assistant will allow the CEO to have more time and rearrange the rest of the schedule. Or if the CEO really needs to be reminded to move to the next thing, the assistant will do that. It's kind of like having a really smart, intelligent butler who knows your preferences. But the thing is, in Japan, that assistant is himself being trained to be a CEO of another major company. But wouldn't it be great if we could have that sort of, good, English butler's experience, but for the everyday person? And, I think we can actually start doing that with technology.
So let's talk about the everyday. Do you wear Google Glass every day, all day long?
Yes, I do.
So
this is my best prescription glasses right now. So.
Well, obviously you are fascinated by this technology and have been for now decades, but not everybody is ready to wear Google Glass all day, every day. There are reports that wearables aren't going to go mainstream for another decade. So,
wearables are already mainstream.
Well,
I mean, look at the MP3 players. That's the first thing we predicted would happen. And this was back in, I remember being offered $2 million in 1995 to start a startup doing a wearable computer, any wearable computer, and we predicted these MP3 players would be the first thing. And now they're ubiquitous. If you go back and look at the Wearable Computing Conference, most of the things we were talking about are now taken over by smartphones. It's just that smartphones are not as fluid. They take too much time to interact with. They're too slow. They don't have access to the world around you. You don't have access to that context. So I think people already are using wearable computers, Bluetooth headsets, smartphones, MP3 players. It's already there. So this is just an evolution in progress.
But glasses are here, and not everybody is wearing them yet. At what point are people going to get comfortable with wearing something like that every day? Do you imagine that it is glasses that people are going to be wearing every day at some point down the line? Is it going to be a wrist? Is it going to be, we were talking earlier about implantable devices. I mean, you look pretty cool, but not everybody wants to wear those every day.
Well, just like smartphones, not everybody's using smartphones every day. Not everybody was using an MP3 player every day. It takes a while for these things to sort of hit critical mass and go from the early adopters to the constant everyday use. But in truth, what we're going to see is a constellation of devices about the body, for where the hands are, where the ears are, where the eyes are. It's really going to be a suite of devices going forward.